Alright, so we have a pretty flexible grid here, or a pretty flexible layout. When I make the width smaller, it scales appropriately. There's nothing coming out of its container, so that's pretty cool. And if this was all that was on our website, just text, this would be perfectly fine. But as we know, the web's a little more complicated than that, and we tend to have lots of images and other types of media. So we're going to go over how to make those flexible as well. And you'll be well on your way to having a responsive website. So I'm using the template that we used, or the same layout that we used from the previous class. I just add a little bit of padding because it was driving me nuts. So tried to make it look a little nicer. So what happens if we just throw an image, for example, into the sidebar here? So we are going to use our little corgi. Remember our little placeholder corgi image? Alright, so we got we got our corgi in here. It's so sad. Okay, so when I make this smaller, you can automatically see that it is not flexible. If I were to view this at this width, there's a whole chunk of this that is just overflowing here. So we want this to be able to, change sizes as we change the browser. It should be responsive and react to the screen that the user's on. So one thing you might think is that maybe if we just wanted to get rid of everything that goes over here, we could just kind of clip it. And that is possible to do. So if I inspect this here, here's our aside, and you can see where the image is going over. So I could add something like overflow hidden. So everything that flows over that sidebar will now be clipped off. So that's one option. But still, it's kind of, if you were down on this width here, it still is not looking very nice. You can't even see the little corgi, which is sad. So let's try something else. Get rid of that. Another thing we can try is to set the image to always be 100% of its container. That way it can never be outside of it. So if I do width 100%, and see I'm doing this to the image here. I'm just working in the dev tools. So that's pretty cool. Now when I change it, it always stays to be the width of the sidebar there. Problem with this is maybe we don't always want it to be 100% of the width. When you get on a really big screen, I can't really show you because I'm running out of space, but this image could get massive. So that's better than what it was, but it's still not the ideal situation. And so a really good way of having this so that it'll keep its size but won't get any bigger than the container is to do a max width. So now when I do this, I can make this bigger. Our image right here is going to take its natural shape, which is 250 pixels. But if I were to get smaller, it can't get any bigger than 100% of its container, so it's going to start scaling. So this is a really cool trick. It's a really good way to make flexible images in your site. And the other part is that it's pretty cool because it works for other media, like videos and embedded items that you might see. Like if you embed a YouTube video and you set max width 100%, it should do the same thing. So I can show you with a video real quick. I'll replace this one. We haven't really talked about how to do video tags, but if you look it up, I mean, it's pretty easy. You can set a height width on it if you want, just like an image to secure that space in the browser when it's loading. If you want controls to show, you can add that attribute there. And then to actually include the video, you use this source tag. And then source equals, and then I actually have a video that I put in a videos folder in this project. So // is look in the current directory for a folder named videos, and inside that look for lecture 23, and this is just a video from the homework review. So put that in there, and then a good practice is to add text here. So if this doesn't load, for example, if your browser doesn't support this video tag, it won't be able to play the video and it'll display what's on this line instead. So your browser doesn't support the video tag. I think at this point most browsers do, but it's still good practice just in case. And then you can say what the type of your video is, just giving your browser more information. And this is video/mp4. Alright, switch back here, refresh. So that's a definite problem. The video goes way outside your layout. I'm going to pause it. So I can do the same thing that I did before. Here, I'll do it in the HTML this time, or in the CSS. So go to my style sheet, and then the selector I'm trying to select is the video, and I can do max width 100%. Save it, go back here, refresh, and now you got your video. If you're working with old browsers like Internet Explorer 6 or before, there's a lot of extra stuff that you have to do because they don't actually support setting the percentages on these video tags. So I'm not going to go over how to actually do that because I don't even know how to download a version of Internet Explorer that old. But someday if you find yourself working on an extremely legacy project, something that's really old and has to support the old browsers, just remember that you'll have to do some extra work there, and then Google it and you'll find it. Let me know if you have any questions on flexible images.